Ladies and gentlemen, silence is one of the most underrated forms of power. In a world that constantly demands explanation, validation, and verbal expression, silence stands as a quiet force that holds deep strength and significance. When you discover a profound truth or secret that has the potential to change your life, the urge to share it with others can be overwhelming. But true growth often happens in stillness. Silence becomes a sacred container in which transformation can take root and flourish without the interference of outside opinions, judgment, or energy. When you learn something that shifts your perspective or elevates your consciousness, keeping it to yourself initially is not about secrecy in the manipulative sense. It's about protection. Just as a seed needs darkness and quiet to germinate beneath the soil, your new awareness needs time to settle within you. The broadcasting it too soon may expose it to skepticism or resistance from others who are not in the same place of understanding. Their doubts and projections can water down your conviction, creating confusion where there was once clarity. Silence, then, becomes your shield. Additionally, when you keep your inner revelations to yourself, you give yourself the gift of integration. New insights are powerful, but they are also delicate. Speaking them out loud before fully embodying them can reduce them to mere words. Silence allows these truths to marinate within you, to become a part of your being, rather than just a fleeting idea. This internalization is essential for genuine transformation. When the time is right, your actions and energy will reflect your evolution without you needing to announce it. Silence is also a tool of discernment. It teaches you to listen more deeply, not just to others, but to your own intuition. When you're not busy explaining or defending what you know, you're more attuned to what feels right and what doesn't. You become aware of subtle shifts in energy, intentions, and truth. This awareness can guide your decisions more wisely than any external advice ever could. Keeping quiet isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Furthermore, silence protects your energy. Every time you share something deeply personal or powerful, you are giving away a piece of your energy. Not everyone deserves access to that part of you. Some may misuse it, misunderstand it, or even weaponize it against you. By remaining silent, especially when it comes to certain sacred knowledge or spiritual revelations, you conserve your power. You choose who gets to know what and when, if at all. There is also something deeply magnetic about silence. People often equate mystery with power because it leaves room for curiosity, wonder, and respect. When you no longer feel the need to prove what you know, you signal self-mastery. You know you don't have to speak about the light you found, you embody it. Those who are meant to understand will recognize it in your presence, not your words. In spiritual terms, silence aligns you with higher frequencies. It's in the silence that divine guidance becomes clearer. The noise of the world often drowns out the voice of your soul. But silence creates a space where that voice can finally be heard. When you've accessed a truth that touches your soul, silence allows you to stay connected to it without interruption. Ultimately, when you discover a secret that changes your path, whether it's spiritual, emotional, or personal, keeping your mouth shut isn't about withholding. It's about honoring. It's about respecting the power of what you've been given and allowing it to shape you in peace. The most powerful people in the world often say the least, not because they have nothing to share, but because they understand that some truths are lived, not spoken. Discernment is the quiet superpower that often separates those who merely survive from those who truly thrive. It's the ability to perceive what lies beneath the surface, to intuitively understand the difference between genuine and what's deceptive, and to know when to speak and when to stay silent. In the context of the powerful truth you've just uncovered, the secret, that shifts your perspective or your entire way of living, discernment becomes your greatest ally. It helps you protect that truth, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. When you come into possession of a deep realization, your first instinct might be to share it with the people around you. You want them to feel the same breakthrough, to understand what you now see so clearly. But discernment steps in and asks, are they ready to hear it? Will they understand? Will they respect it? These questions matter, because not everyone is on the same frequency. What's enlightening to you may sound absurd or even threatening to someone else. Discernment helps you sense who is capable of receiving certain truths and who isn't. Not everyone has earned the right to access the most sacred parts of your awareness. Some people will dismiss it, diminish it, or even attempt to twist it. This doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. It just means they're not aligned with where you are. Discernment protects your energy by preventing you from casting your pearls before swine. It's not about elitism, it's about self-respect and energetic boundaries. There is immense strength in knowing when to keep your mouth shut. That doesn't come from fear or insecurity. It comes from inner authority. A discernment gives you the clarity to know that your truth doesn't need to be validated by others to be real. When you share indiscriminately, you risk diluting that truth, or worse, allowing others to plant seeds of doubt in you. But when you use discernment, you create a sacred space within yourself where your growth can take root without interruption. Discernment also refines your awareness of timing. Sometimes, the truth you've discovered is meant to be shared, but not yet. Maybe it needs more time to settle within you. Maybe you need more experience to articulate it fully. Or maybe the right person or moment hasn't arrived. Discernment tells you when to wait and when to speak. It teaches patience and trust in divine timing. This quality also sharpens your ability to read people and situations. You begin to sense hidden motives, feel the undercurrents of conversations, and detect the authenticities or lack thereof in someone's presence. That awareness is essential, especially when you're holding something sacred. Discernment doesn't mean living in suspicion, it means moving with wisdom and insight. It means trusting your inner knowing over external noise. Most importantly, a discernment cultivates self-trust. As you become more selective with your words and the spaces you open up in, you reinforce your inner guidance system. You learn to listen to your intuition more deeply and to respond, not react, to the world around you. You begin to understand that not every thought needs to be shared, not every emotion needs to be explained, and not every truth needs to be broadcast. Some truths are for you and you alone, at least for now. In a world obsessed with oversharing and constant commentary, discernment is revolutionary. It allows you to walk in quiet power, to know things deeply without needing to prove them, to move through life with clarity, confidence, and grace. So when you discover a truth that changes everything, let discernment guide your next steps. Keep your mouth shut, not out of secrecy, but out of reverence, for the truth, for yourself, and for the journey still unfolding. The power of secrecy is an ancient and often underestimated force. In a world that constantly urges us to share, post, and speak, holding something close to your chest can be a radical act of self-preservation and personal power. When you discover a secret that shifts your perspective, that changes your inner world, or grants you a new level of understanding, keeping it to yourself is not a sign of fear. It's a sign of strength. Secrecy doesn't mean deception. It means discernment. It means recognizing that not every truth is meant for public consumption, and not every revelation must be shared immediately, or at all. There is immense power in allowing knowledge to settle and deepen within you before giving it away. Some things lose their magic the moment they are spoken aloud to the wrong ears. A sacred insight, when exposed too soon, can be met with disbelief, criticism, or mockery, weakening its impact and making you question what you know in your soul to be true. The power of secrecy lies in its ability to nurture growth in silence. Just like seeds grow in the darkness of soil, your insights often need time and protection to fully take root. Sharing prematurely can expose them to external influence that may stunt or distort their development. When you keep your mouth shut, you allow your understanding to evolve without interference. You protect it from noise, doubt, and distractions. Keeping a secret also grants you control over your narrative, your energy, and your direction. Once something is shared, it leaves your hands and enters the unpredictable realm of other people's perceptions. Their reactions, opinions, or misunderstandings can pull you off course. When you keep it to yourself, you remain centered. You choose when, how, and if it should be shared. That choice is your power. Moreover, secrecy builds inner strength. It trains you in self-restraint and emotional intelligence. Not every impulse to speak must be acted upon. The discipline to stay silent, especially when you are excited or validated by your discovery, strengthens your self-mastery. It teaches you to hold your own energy and not seek external validation for every internal shift. In certain spiritual and philosophical traditions, secrecy is seen as sacred. The mystical knowledge, transformative insights, and personal awakenings were often passed in whispers, guarded and revered. Not because they were meant to be hidden out of fear, but because they were understood to be powerful. A power in the wrong hands, or power shared without readiness, can lead to misunderstanding or even harm. In the modern world, the same principle applies. When you know something that changes you deeply, it's wise to first live that truth before preaching it. Keeping a secret can also serve as a test of loyalty to yourself. Can you trust yourself to carry this truth? Can you honor it by not throwing it to the crowd for quick applause or shallow affirmation? When you do, you affirm your own worth and your capacity to hold depth without dilution. You stop looking outward for validation and turn inward for alignment. Eventually, you may choose to share your secret, but from a place of calm strength, not urgency. The right people will recognize its value, and your silence will have prepared you to articulate it with clarity and impact. But until then, keeping your mouth shut allows the secret to work in you before it works through you. In the end, secrecy is not about hiding. It's about honoring. It's about choosing depth over display, power over performance, and integrity over impulse. When you truly know the value of what you've been shown, you realize that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom, it's protection, it's power. Energy protection is one of the most overlooked aspects of personal power. In a noisy world filled with constant information, opinions, and emotional exchanges, preserving your inner energy becomes essential, especially when you've stumbled upon a truth that changes your perspective or elevates your consciousness. The moment you realize something profound, keeping it to yourself is not just about secrecy. It's about safeguarding your energy from being drained, challenged, or manipulated. Every time we speak, we emit energy. Words are not just sounds, they're extensions of our internal world. When you share something powerful, especially something sacred or transformative, you open a portal for others to enter your energetic space. And not everyone enters with good intentions. Some may question you, dismiss your insight, or try to pull you back into the version of yourself they're comfortable with. Others may subconsciously siphon your energy, even if they seem supportive on the surface. This is why, when you discover a truth that shifts your life, your first instinct shouldn't be to shoot it from the rooftops. It should be to ground yourself and protect your energy. Energy protection means creating boundaries, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's about being conscious of where your energy flows and who has access to it. Speaking a powerful truth too soon can invite chaos, confusion, and resistance. Not because the truth is wrong, but because the world around you not be ready to receive it. And if you're not grounded in your truth yet, others' doubt can make you doubt yourself. Holding something sacred within you allows it to settle, grow, and integrate into your being. It's like planting a seed and not digging it up every day to show others what's happening underground. Letting that seed develop in silence is a powerful form of energy protection. The more energy you keep within, the stronger your connection to the truth becomes. You begin to embody it, not just talk about it. Moreover, not everyone deserves access to your inner revelations. Sharing your awakening with someone who lives in fear, ego, or negativity can expose you to energy that brings you down. It's not about judgment. It's about discernment. You can love people from a distance while protecting the most valuable aspects of your journey. And knowing when to share and when to stay silent is a form of spiritual intelligence. It's a way of conserving your energetic power so that it's not diluted by unnecessary reactions or resistance. Energy protection also includes avoiding the urge to seek validation. Often we want to share our breakthroughs to get reassurance that we're on the right path. But true power comes from internal validation, from trusting your own soul more than external opinions. When you protect your energy, you stop giving others the power to define or distort your truth. This protection isn't about living in isolation. It's about being selective. It's about ensuring that the people you choose to open up to are emotionally safe, spiritually aligned, and capable of holding space without judgment or interference. When you're careful about where your energy goes, you remain rooted in your strength. You stop scattering your light and start focusing it like a laser. Ultimately, Energy protection is an act of self-respect when you discover a secret that has the potential to change your life. Keeping your mouth shut isn't a sign of fear. It's a declaration of sovereignty. You don't owe the world your inner world. You owe yourself the time and space to honor what you found. Protect your energy, and you protect your power. And in that protection, your secret becomes sacred. Mystery holds a powerful place in the human experience. It is often misunderstood as secrecy or manipulation, but in truth, mystery is a quiet form of wisdom. It is the conscious choice to withhold, to protect, and to preserve something sacred within yourself. In the context of your personal growth or spiritual evolution, maintaining an air of mystery is not deception, it is discernment. Once you come across a truth that has the power to transform your life, not broadcasting it to the world is not cowardice, it is mastery. Mystery allows you to move in silence, in a world obsessed with oversharing. Keeping certain aspects of your life and awareness private becomes a radical act. When you keep your mouth shut after uncovering something important, whether it's about yourself, others, or the nature of reality, you are honoring the depth of what you've learned. You're choosing to let that wisdom work through you, rather than turning it into a performance for others. The energy that might be spent explaining or defending your truth is instead conserved and used to fuel your transformation. There is a quiet power that comes with not needing to be understood. When you allow mystery to surround you, people may become curious, intrigued, or even uncomfortable. But that is not your burden to carry. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Letting them in requires trust, and trust should be earned, not given freely to anyone who simply asks. Holding on to mystery means you've learned to be selective with your energy and intentional with your presence. When you exude mystery, you become harder to manipulate. You're no longer giving people the roadmap to your mind, your heart, or your decisions. This gives you the upper hand, not out of a desire for power over others, but because you're no longer broadcasting your vulnerabilities. People can't sabotage what they don't know exists. They can't twist what hasn't been spoken. Mystery, in this way, becomes your shield. Mystery also deepens your relationship with yourself. When you keep your discoveries private, you give yourself the space to fully explore them without the noise of external opinions. You develop a stronger internal dialogue and trust your intuition more deeply. You're no longer relying on others to validate what you feel to be true. You become your own source of confirmation. In relationships, mystery fosters respect and fascination. Being emotionally transparent doesn't require you to share everything. Real connection doesn't come from constant disclosure. It comes from presence, depth, and resonance. When you hold back strategically, you invite others to slow down, to listen, and to engage with you more consciously. You teach people that your energy is valuable and not available on demand. Mystery also cultivates discipline. It teaches you how to hold energy, how to manage your emotions, and how to channel what you know into action rather than explanation. When you're mysterious, you become more intentional with your words. You stop speaking to be heard and start speaking only when it truly matters. That kind of restraint is rare, and it carries a power that people can feel even if they can't explain it. Ultimately, embracing mystery is about sovereignty. It's about understanding that not everything needs to be said, shared, or posted. Some things are meant to be sacred. Some truths are meant to shape you from the inside before they are ever revealed to the outside world. So, when you know a secret that changes your perception, don't rush to expose it. Protect it, sit with it, let it transform you in silence, because mystery doesn't hide the truth, it honors it. Spiritual maturity is not defined by how much you know, but by how wisely you carry what you know. It's about understanding that truth doesn't need to be loud, and wisdom doesn't always demand an audience. Once you reach a deeper level of inner knowing, when you stumble upon a truth so profound that it shifts your perception, you begin to understand the importance of silence. Not everything sacred is meant to be spoken, especially not to those who are not ready to receive it. Spiritual maturity is the discernment to keep your mouth shut, not out of fear or secrecy, but out of deep respect for the energy and impact of that truth. A spiritually mature person recognizes that speaking can often diminish the power of a realization. Some truths are like seeds. They must be planted within and allowed to take root quietly, nurtured through presence, reflection, and integration. Speaking too soon can expose them to misunderstanding, resistance, or even ridicule. When you've grown spiritually, you no longer feel the urge to prove what you know. You simply live it, embody it, and let your energy speak for itself. This maturity is deeply connected to self-restraint, not the kind born from suppression or fear, but the kind that grows from wisdom. You begin to understand the sacredness of your inner revelations. You realize that the moment you share a powerful realization with someone who lacks the depth or readiness to understand it, you dilute it. You waste it. Spiritual maturity is knowing that timing matters, and so does the container in which you share your truth. Not every space is safe, and not every ear can hear. With spiritual maturity comes humility. You stop seeing your insights as weapons or trophies. You stop using them to elevate your ego or to appear enlightened. To others, you no longer need to dominate conversations or convert people to your perspective. Instead, you begin to listen more, observe more, and speak only when truly guided to. You realize that spiritual truths are deeply personal journeys, and everyone must walk their own path to discover them. You can't rush someone's awakening with your words. No matter how profound they are, silence becomes a sacred tool. It becomes a space where truth continues to evolve within you. When you resist the urge to explain or share too quickly, you allow wisdom to deepen. You become more aligned, more centered, and more anchored in your own energy. People begin to notice your presence, not because of what you say, but because of what you don't say. Your stillness becomes magnetic. Your peace becomes contagious. Your silence speaks volumes. Spiritual maturity also teaches you to protect your energy. The moment you speak a powerful truth aloud, you open a door. And not everyone who walks through that door comes with pure intentions. Some seek to challenge, to drain, or to distort what you hold dear. The spiritually mature recognize this and choose to keep their revelations private, not out of fear, but out of reverence. They know that energy must be guarded, especially in its most vulnerable, raw, and powerful forms. Ultimately, spiritual maturity is about alignment. It's about walking your truth rather than talking about it. It's about trusting that the right people will feel your energy without needing constant explanation. And when the moment comes to speak, when your truth can genuinely serve, uplift, or guide, you do so with clarity, purpose, and grace. But until then, you honor the power of the unspoken. You protect the sacred silence. You keep your mouth shut, not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally learned the wisdom of saying nothing at all. Inner knowing is that quiet, unwavering voice inside you that doesn't shout, yet speaks with more clarity than anything you hear in the external world. It's not based on logic, proof, or opinions. It's a deep resonance that says, "Whoa, this is true for me." Once you tap into that kind of truth, once you discover something so aligned with your soul that it shakes you to the core, there's a powerful realization not everyone will understand, and not everyone is meant to. When inner knowing reveals itself, it often comes suddenly, through silence, solitude, or unexpected moments of clarity. It can come after years of struggle or in a fleeting moment of peace. But when it arrives, it transforms your inner world. It brings a sense of stillness and certainty that doesn't need validation. This is the beginning of spiritual sovereignty, when you no longer look outside for answers because you've discovered something sacred within. The secret, once known, does not need to be announced. In fact, it shouldn't be. Speaking it prematurely often invites doubt, confusion, or resistance, not just from others, but from within yourself. Inner knowing is delicate. It needs time to root and grow. It needs your silence, your protection, and your trust. In the stillness, it expands. In the noise, it can get diluted, questioned, or even lost. You begin to realize that the need to share every insight is often driven by ego, not truth. The mature soul understands that wisdom is not for display, it's for transformation, and transformation is deeply personal. It happens within, not through public announcements or external approval. Once you know something that shifts your life, your role is not to explain it to others. It's to live it. Your actions, your energy, your presence will say more than your words ever could. Inner knowing also teaches discernment. You become more aware of when to speak and when to remain silent. You recognize that not every conversation is meant for depth. Some ears are not ready to hear, and some hearts are not open to receive. You stop wasting your energy trying to convince or teach. Instead, you focus on embodying the truth. This embodiment speaks louder than any explanation ever could. There's also a quiet confidence that comes within a knowing. You don't rush to defend your choices. You don't argue to prove your path. You don't fear being misunderstood because you're no longer dependent on others' understanding. You become anchored in your truth. You trust your journey even if no one else sees where it's going. This level of self-trust is rare and sacred. Keeping your mouth shut isn't about secrecy in the negative sense. It's about spiritual integrity. It's about protecting the purity of your insight from the noise of the world. Some truths are like sacred fire. They need to be tended to, not thrown around. When you guard them in silence, they grow stronger, brighter, and more transformative within you. Eventually, you'll meet others who recognize that energy in you. Not because you told them, but because they feel it. They've seen that same light in themselves. That's when real connection happens, when inner knowing meets inner knowing, without the need for performance or persuasion. So, when you uncover a truth that alters your perception, keep it close. Let it evolve in silence. Let it change you before you ever speak it aloud. A trust that what's meant to be shared will find its moment, and that your greatest power lies not in your voice, but in your ability to honor what you've discovered without needing to explain it to anyone. Self-mastery is the art of ruling yourself, your mind, your emotions, your impulses, without needing external control or validation. It's about knowing who you are, what you believe, and what drives you, and choosing to act from that inner clarity rather than reacting to the chaos around you. In the context of, once you know this secret, keep your mouth shut. Self-mastery becomes a vital discipline, because the moment you discover a truth that changes you, the temptation to share it, prove it, or be praised for it can be overwhelming. But mastery means restraint. It means letting your silence speak louder than your words. When you begin walking the path of self-mastery, you realize that not every emotion needs to be expressed, not every thought needs to be shared, and not every discovery needs to be public. This isn't suppression, it's power. Because when you can contain your energy, direct it, and channel it with intention, you stop scattering your strength and begin building true presence. You no longer feel the need to explain your evolution. You simply embody it. The secret, whatever it may be, a spiritual insight, a personal realization, a deep knowing, becomes a kind of internal compass. It begins to guide your choices, your values, your direction. But it doesn't need an audience. When you reach a certain level of understanding, you realize that many people won't see what you see. Not because they're incapable, but because they're on a different chapter of their journey. Self-mastery means honoring that difference without judgment, and without the need to interfere. Keeping your mouth shut is an act of sovereignty. It means you no longer seek approval. You no longer need to be understood to feel valid. You've seen behind the curtain of your own conditioning and realized that truth doesn't shout, it whispers. And only those who are listening with their souls will hear it anyway. Self-mastery also means emotional regulation. You're not ruled by highs and lows. You can sit with discomfort without reacting, observe a trigger without becoming it, and navigate conflict without losing your center. In silence, this control is refined. You learn to pause, to breathe, to wait, to recognize that not every battle is yours to fight, not every opinion is yours to correct, and not every truth is yours to reveal. Another dimension of self-mastery is energy conservation. You become fiercely selective about where you invest your focus, your time, and your voice. When you've gained a powerful insight, you understand that sharing it too soon, or with the wrong people, can drain it of its potency. You protect your light, not from fear but from wisdom, because energy, like truth, grows in sacred spaces. Eventually, you realize that your very life becomes the message. People begin to notice your peace, your clarity, your depth. And they ask questions, not because you preached, but because you practiced. That is the quiet strength of a master. They don't need to talk about the mountain they've climbed. They are the mountain, grounded, unshakable, centered in a power that doesn't beg to be seen. In this silence you evolve. You let your transformation deepen. You honor the sacredness of your path. you keep your mouth shut, not because you're afraid to speak, but because you've learned that some truths are too valuable to waste. They must be lived, not explained. They must be guarded, not performed. And in doing so, you unlock the true essence of self-mastery, the ability to lead yourself with discipline, wisdom, and grace, no matter who's watching or who understands.